Hey guys, it's TK2. This is eShade versus Constance Blaze. It is 2015 version of Close Quarters. And on top of that all, this is a tournament prep game for the Indiana Warmachine Championship, which is being held on the 28th of February, if I do remember correctly. Or it's a qualifier for that event. Anyway, it's a big tournament we're going to, and so we're trying out our tournament lists. And, well, this is just a recap of it. So it is my standard eShade list that I have been trying to perfect for a while now. I'm nowhere near there yet, but I think I'm getting somewhat close, maybe. Warwitch Siren, by the way, I have deployment. I'm going first. Another Warwitch Siren, Bane Riders, Blood Witches, Blood Hag, Saxon Auric. He's pretty important. He's way back here and always back here because one time I put him out in the front, like right here behind the wall, and my opponent had Adjudicator and, well, almost killed Saxon top of turn 1. So now Saxon is back here. 9 Scrap Thralls, minimum unit of Bane Thralls with the UA, Tartarus, Max Bane Knights, Defiler, because eShade right here has 5 Warjack points, so instead of going for a Night Rich, which is the best Dark Node Trix has, I'm using a Defiler. So my opponent, he has Sword Knights, these Precursor Knights with the UA, Stormwall, Constance Blaze, who is right here. This is a Sentinel, I think, or if it's not a Sentinel, it's like a Sentry. It's the Signar Jack with Shield Guard, who no one ever sees, and his sole purpose in this list is to prevent Constance from being shot by Iris. And this is another unit of Precursor Knights with the UA somewhere in the back where you can't really see. Harlan Varsh. There is a Junior back here, and there is like Runewood. I'm going to call him Runewood for this game because I can't remember his name. It might actually be his name, which would be kind of funny. But he's the guy who gives people Pathfinder or +2 Mat or something like that. And he has Jack Marshall. And this guy is actually on Runewood or whoever the Jack Marshall may be. So that's the list. I have first turn, which is huge for melee-based armies going at each other, because that means I kind of get to decide the battle lines. Now, if my opponent had first turn with his +2 speed because it's a tier list, that means my opponent would be up here at the 23-inch mark, top of turn 1. And so if my opponent had all of his models like right here, I wouldn't want to go up way up here. I'd want to kind of sit back because I'm just going to get alpha'd, which means he now gains scenario pressure, because if you dominate, you get a point. He gets scenario pressure here. If you dominate, you get 2 points, and if you control it, you get a point. And there is no way my Bane Riders would ever be this close. Now, also in reverse, because I have first turn, that means the battle lines are going to be drawn somewhat over here, which means my opponent's kind of going crazy in the corner. Don't pay attention to him, which means he can't do the 23-inch just run out to in front, because then he's going to get alpha'd. So getting the first turn is kind of a huge help in melee versus melee. First turn's always good because it's a game of aggression. So if you have first turn, you get to be the most aggressive. My opponent wanted to stick Anastasia in his list, but in doing that, I think he breaks tier, or he didn't have 2 points or something like that. Because if you have Anastasia in the list, you no longer have a 50-50 chance of getting first. You actually have a 66% chance of getting first. And for a melee army, that's huge. So, in deployment, I'm not sure if I said it, but he has Harlan Varsh, the dual guy with Purgation, right there, who I don't like, who I'm going to try and get rid of. So, basically, on my turn, what I did is I just ran up, because I'm a melee-based army. I have first turn, I run up. I put Occultation on the Witches because I kind of want to bait this guy to walk out here and shoot a couple of them, because he has the super upkeep Weapon Master hate dealio, and then I could get him right after that because he has a Storm Wall. So I'm thinking I want Occultation on my caster in the long run, so the sooner I can get rid of some guy who can hurt my caster with Occultation, the better. However, that doesn't happen, as my opponent just decides to kind of walk up and put down some covering fire, throw down a pod, do all that sort of stuff, and just run up into position. He doesn't go too far because, well, he is the melee army facing down a melee army, so he doesn't really want to get into the threat range of my guys right away. He has his feat. His feat's the inverse terminus feat, which means whenever one of his guys dies, Constance gets a soul, and then for every soul Constance has, his army gets +1 armor. By army, I mean warriors. I really hope it's warriors, because if the Jacks get that too, that's really sick. And I don't remember, because if the Jacks did get it, they were out of range to for any of my guys to go up and hit them, because of all the shooting I have, especially all the anti-Jack shooting I have. I'm really concentrating on those guys. Anyway, everyone just kind of moves up again, and he's just going to kind of get into somewhat of a position that feels good for him. The Sword Knights in this list are kind of meant to die. They're the jammers for the precursors, who with in Maro's name have Weapon Master for a turn, and then also the Stormwall. So, and actually kind of the main goal of the list, or a really strong point of his list, is to get Constance to your caster, because Constance has flank with Morrowind, and like everything in the list is Morrowind. So if she gets to your caster with some other model of her army also being to your caster, she's just gonna rip it to shreds. There's like, she's a power 13 mat 9 weapon master essentially, and she can boost. So, and after her feat turn, she could have like 20 focus on her. So it's really, you don't want her at your caster. Okay, so anyway, back at the game, my Defiler is actually doing something this turn, because I don't want to, he stayed back a lot. So his army has the potential to be right up here front and center, but he stayed back a lot because I got the first turn. So it really put a lot of pressure on his army and keeping it back, which is going to allow me to take the initiative. So anyway, what my chicken is doing is I decided to walk him up, because he has never seen a spray target like this before, and he usually just runs up, tries to Hex Blast something, fails, and dies. So he's like, oh boy, I have 3 focus, I'm going to get me some Sword Knights. So that's what he's doing. To continue, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to try and get into more of a flanking position as well. So my Knights are going to run up. They're going to try and bait the precursors to try and get like 1 or 2 of them so I can get Vengeance, and then a lot more attacks. My Warwick Siren's going to be running up. These guys are going to be running up, and I'm going to try and kind of engulf him. That way, when he pops his feat next turn, because he didn't pop it this turn, and Constance's feat is a feat where it is designed so that you can take the punch. He's going to be getting one heck of a punch next turn. So he's going to feat next turn. I know that. So I'm going to try and wrap my army around his, so that when he feats, either I can kill a whole bunch of dudes and his feat won't matter too much, or I can like avoid them a little bit more, and then I can run further around his back. He really doesn't have a back line. He has like a Junior and Runewood, but you know, being surrounded your opponent's never a bad idea. So the Arc Node goes, and he removes a couple Sword Knights from play. Then I forget what happens next. The Blood Witches come up and take down the Storm Pod, and then pretty much everyone just kind of runs to be in position. I'm really kind of scared with Shade, because I think he's just going to walk up to the Storm Wall and just pop Shade in the face. So Shade is not really doing anything other than holding on to focus and kind of standing back. There's Killbox in this scenario, so I'm going to see if I can't get him up right in here, if it's 14-14, and I can just sit behind the wall like a big baby. So I think I can, and I measure it when the time comes, and you can sit behind that wall. So Shade's just going to hang out that wall. It's as far away from my scenario, but I kind of want my caster alive rather than dead in points and have some scenario points. So that's pretty much how it's going to be. My army is super slow, and so because speed 5 is slow when you're looking at raiders and riders too. So I'm not there yet. So this is a turn where he has like a 13-inch charge. Wait, hang on a second. He has Crusader's Call, so all the guys are speed 6 which means he can get up to an 11-inch threat range, charge range, with all his dudes. So I'm kind of holding back, and what he can do is he can just charge in and get a couple of them, get the alpha, and then feat. However, Connie's way back here, so if she wants any of these guys over here to benefit from the feat, she's going to have to move to a more central location. However, he also wants to get the node because the node's a node in the Crick's army, and he also wants to get these guys. So really, by me spreading out so much, I have kind of forced Connie to either move to a more central location and have her entire army spread out and then thin for my army just to, crash into and break, or for her to consolidate more around her caster, just because of the way her feat works and she has Crusader's Call and everything like that. So what my opponent decided to do is jam with the Sword Knights, because that's their job, put down some covering fire, and then also charge some knights or riders with precursors, and then just kind of get into a position so that, and then feeding is important, so that he can take the punch that's going to be coming next turn. So Constant moves up, deals some damage to the Arc Node, leaves him on like 3 boxes. So a Sword Knight charges it, and then the Sword Knights move around, charge some other things. The one Sword Knight kills the Arc Node, so big whoop-de-doo there. They get in and engage some witches. Stormwall walks up, drops down some covering fire. That hill's a real big nuisance, and so like all of our dudes are on dice to support him up. Doesn't run his precursors at my Banes, which I love, and kind of keeps them all clumped up so that they can be in Connie's feet. And then the other precursors run up and charge the Bane Knights, or Bane Riders, my bad. And he forgets to pop in Morrow's name, aka Weapon Master, and so he leaves 3 of them, the 3 he charged, on like 2 boxes each. And then also my Warwitch Siren, who is super awesome and really good at surviving, survived the the Precursor Knight. So my turn, I'm thinking, I just remembered my Blood Witches have RFP swords. So the Blood Witches are going to go to town and RFP this guy, RFP this guy, RFP this guy, maybe RFP this guy, so on and so forth. And then I can kill some of his dudes on his turn, and he doesn't benefit from the feat. Also, Tartarus has RFP, so Tartarus is going to come up here and make himself 2 new Banes. And then my Bane Knights, they can't kill anything, but they can sure as heck get into here and provide one heck of a headache for jam up the unit, because they have Ghostly, so they'll just run right in there and jam it all up, and it'll be great, and it'll be a great way to weather his feat. Now, my Bane Riders, I'm a little bit sad with them because they're doing like absolutely nothing this game, because they don't really want to kill too many things. I mean, they can get these guys on the side here because those guys they're not in the feat, so it'd be fine removing them from the table because he doesn't get his soul, and I might as well. But it's like they're getting maybe 2 guys and they're 11 points, so I really got to find out how to use them better. That's also, I kind of lost my node for free, but I kind of knew I was doing it anyway because I wanted him to spray. He never gets to spray, and after my Blood Witch, like last game, got annoyed at being on upkeep duty and almost killed a rider, I mean, I figure I should show my Arc Node some love. That way he can actually be in range when I need him to be in range, and maybe he'll arc spells a little bit easier for me in the future. So, it's not like us wargamers are superstitious at all. The Bane Knights walk up, and they Vengeance up. They're going to get ready to maybe hit some stuff. The one misses his Vengeance attack, which is good because he was the one who was going to become a Thrall anyway, so I'm glad I missed that one. Then I do believe the Blood Witches just go first. He put down the covering fire there so that it would force my witches to move. However, I thought, I can just pop the Blood Shadow and then stay exactly where I am and not care about the covering fire damage. However, I end up none of them are in it at the end anyway, so that didn't matter. And then the Blood Witches just go to town and RFP like 5 dudes. It was great. They needed 7s to hit, and they hit each and every one of them except for 1. So what can you do? I RFP 5 guys on his feet turn. That's 5 less focus for him next turn, and 5 less armor for his army this turn. And then I do believe Tartarus decides to walk up and try and make a Bane. We'll see exactly what happens next. I'll speed this up. Nope. The riders go. They do ride-by attacks, so they can try and walk up, hit a dude, get into position for jamming. I leave 1 guy back for the recursion attacks. Tartarus walks up. He curses that unit. He only kills 1. I mean, he needs like 3s to hit them, but he rolls like snake eyes on 1. Shade walks over so that I can get a couple of his sword knights in my passive range, and both of my thralls miss. Well, actually 1 hits. So I make 1 new Bane out of that, and then my Bane Knights go ahead and jam the poop out of that unit. And it is his turn after that. Oh, I try and spray Harun and Varsh. You would normally think that'd be a bad idea because he has that thing where if you spray him or shoot him with a spell, he can then shoot you back. However, my Bane Rider is thankfully engaging him. So his turn, he only has like 2 focus on him. Shade is actually in charge range of Connie, which sucks. I forgot that she has reach. But these clouds do a nice job of blocking line of sight. However, he can just move up the storm wall and drop down like a pod, and then charge a pod with Connie. And then she'll also be in range of Shade. So she won't get the charge attack off, but she'll still be able to hit him. However, the big thing, which is why he's not going to end up doing it, is he can't get a Morrowind model to run over and get to Shade. He said he had like some shenanigans he could pull so that he could do it. I forgot to ask him what that was after the game because I'd like to know. But I think it basically involved me missing free strikes of some sort or jamming guys up so that I couldn't see them so he could run them past. But regardless, that's not what he decides to do. He is going to try and just get as many of my models as he can. So obviously these 2 knights are going to go away. This knight that thrall is also going to go away, maybe this knight, because Tartarus, in his attempt to make 2 new Banes, got really close to the storm wall. So the storm wall is he's just gonna try and walk up and hit Tartarus, and well, that's gonna be like his turn. He's just gonna try and clear out some riders, maybe 3 of them, clear out the witches, clear out Tartarus, clear out some knights, and then he's just gonna call it a day and then see what I do. So it's actually not a bad plan when you're playing in an attrition list. So but the problem is I have a witch who's incorporeal and a Bane Thrall in the way of his storm wall. So he needs to get those 2. My friend likes to have dinner on our table, but that's fine. It's great. I love Warmachine. It's so social. If you didn't have friends to play Warmachine with, you wouldn't play Warmachine at all. I just love going to the store after a long day of work and being like, okay, it's time to have some fun. It's time to not care about really anything. Put some models on the table, have an interesting social contract with people where I move these little metal things that are shaped in certain ways, and I'm going to roll these cubes with some like numbers inscribed on them, and based off of what they roll, we're going to take other funny shaped matter pieces off the board, and then one of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose. I mean, it's so weird, but it's fun. I mean, it's Warmachine. So he goes and he charges some Bane Knights, some Bane Thralls with his little pieces. Interesting thing right here. So what he did is he moved 2 guys up to block line of sight to my Bane Knight so that he could charge a precursor into the Bane Thrall. However, in doing that, he goes up on the hill, which then puts him in line of sight of my Bane Knight. So the question was, would I still get a free strike on him? I think yes. He thought no. We didn't really want to go look it up in the rules because we were feeling lazy. So we rolled off for it and his side won. So he got to go through without a free strike. However, that'd be something really interesting to figure out. And I'm pretty sure we could figure it out if we actually looked at the rule book. But It's more than an arm's reach away from me right now, so I'm not going to do it. So he charges the Bane Thrall without a free strike, and then he just kind of goes and charges some more dudes. Those two Bane Knights really mucked him up good, or else I would have lost a lot more guys this turn. However, that... oh no, he hit, my bad. So the Precursor Knights get like they get 3 guys, which isn't too bad. I get Vengeance next turn, which is awesome. And then all he has to do is get this one Blood Witch. However, Harlan Varsh is like right here. He is in reach range of this Rider. However, this Rider is also in lots of range of these Precursors. And my opponent not moving right now tells me that it's time for the next clip. So here's the next clip. Okay, so basically, there we go. Okay, so those guys are going to get that Bane Rider, and then Harlan Varsh is just going to aim and shoot at this witch, who is in the back arc, but on a hill and in a cloud. But Varsh is also on the hill, so it's pretty much Varsh is going to aim, be Rat 8, and shoot at a Defense 13 model. Should be able to hit it. If not, Connie can like spell it or something. And then the Stormwall is going to come up here and say hello to Tartarus. So that's pretty much his game plan. There we go. My opponent's moving again. That's always nice. So he's going to go ahead about and try and do that. I think, yeah, he actually has Connie go up and kill the Bane Rider. And also base the flag so that he can maybe start getting some points if he clears out my models. So, I don't remember who goes next. Varsh went, killed the witch. Stormwall walks up. Hey Tartarus, how's it going? Not too bad in Invictus. I think his name is Indictus. The Stormwall has a name. I think it's Indictus. It's whatever the fancy word to get in the way on someone else's behalf means. Tartarus was actually in the way, which is kind of funny. So Stormwall took him off the board. Precursor Knights take off 3 of the Riders and also a couple of the Witches. The Sentinel or Sentry or whatever his name is, the one Jack with the shield wall that you never really see Signar players use, walks up and bashes the Witch, hits but only does 2 points of damage, which is awesome. And now it is my turn. And if you notice, a Stormwall is exactly where I want it, which is in front of 3 Banes and a couple Knights. Oh, here's a Knight too. And also, he has Arcane Shield on him, but my Hag is still alive and well, and she has her Dispel Sword handy. So she's going to come up, she's going to take the Dispel off the Indictus Stormwall guy, and then my Banes are just going to charge it, and because we're Cricks and we're awesome, we're going to need like 3 models, and we're going to kill the Stormwall. Then also what's going to happen is this is a feat turn. This is a total feat turn. Half of my army is dead, so feat them back. I have more than 9 Banes back, so I say 9 because I don't have 9 Scrap Thralls, so they're obvious feat targets, but I have more than 9 Banes dead, so that means these remaining 5 Blood Witches are going to be sacrificial pawns to the feat to bring back Banes, and then we're pretty much just going to swamp them, because that's just how Shade plays, is he runs up, he says, here's my army, see what you can do. The other army's like, okay, we'll see what we can do. They kill a whole bunch of dudes, and then he brings back 20 points of models, and he's like, can you do that again? And a lot of them say no. And so then he just kind of wins through super attrition. Okay. So, what's going to happen first is, well, Vengeance happens first. Well, I guess Corrosion happens first, then Vengeance. But I didn't have Corrosion or Fire, so Vengeance just happens. And I get like 1 dude, all the rest misses. Whatever. The Bane Knights can kill a Stormwall, not kill some Precursor Knights. I'll be happy with that. And then what happens next is I do believe the Bane Thralls go, because I am really super smart at this game, and I forgot that the Stormwall has shield, or not shield wall, Arcane Shield on it. So the Bane Thralls are just going to go up when they don't need to go yet, and they're going to be like, haha, we're going to do lots of not damage. So they're going to go ahead, charge. We're going to get 4 attacks in because I don't want to commit my flag because tough is important, even though I haven't rolled a single tough roll this game, but no one's keeping track. And they do like 4 points of damage to the storm wall. 4 attacks, 4 points of damage. Yay. Actually, no, that's not true. I do like 10 points of damage to it, but it's 4 charging Bane Thralls, so whatever. The Blood Witches are going to be like, you know what, Bane Thralls? We can do better than that. We'll show you how. We'll have the old lady charge for good measure, and then 3 younger ladies charge the storm wall in the back. Then we'll have the other ladies just kind of take on some precursor knights because they have other things to do. And, well, the old lady is going to be like, you know what, Stormwall, I don't like your arcane shield, so I'm going to get rid of that. And just show you I mean business. I'm going to, like, do, wait for it. Let's speed this up. 10 points of damage to you, because that's just the way I roll. And then another 4 points of damage to you with my horns, because I'm an old lady and I have horns. Then the other witches are going to be like, oh yeah, old witch, we can do better. We're going to take out an entire side of a storm wall with just us. With just 3 blood witches. They're amazing. Oh yeah, and we're going to do a couple more points of damage to the other entire side of the storm wall. So witches are awesome. Bane Thralls suck, apparently. And then they also are going to be feet fodder. So I probably shouldn't have turned them into Bane Thralls at the end of this. I probably should have turned the Bane Thralls into Blood Witches, really how this was going. But then the Storm Wall has like half its boxes left. So the Bane Knights are going to go ahead and charge in there. And I only need like 2 attacks to finish it off because they're Banes. And I guess Banes can be good. Maybe just not Bane Thralls. So they charge in there. One blocks the other unit. I get it with 2 hits. And then the other Bane Knight, just for show, kills a Precursor Knight. The Riders go next, I do believe, and they just kind of go and get some Precursor Knights. And by Riders, I mean the Warwitch Siren, and she's going to spray down the line of Versh, Constance, and Runewood, Thornwood, Strangeways, whatever the heck his name is. Shoot, Jack Marshall dude. Put Corrosion on him, miss the other 2. That's okay. Bane Riders are going to go, they're going to get 2 Precursor Knights because we love missing our impact attacks. Saxon's going to go, he's going to be like, hey look boss, we're going to get a flag. The Scrap Thralls are going to be like, we get to go now. Warwitch Siren moves into position to prevent charges from going past her. And then Shade's going to be like, well, I'm sorry Blood Witches, thank you for taking out the Storm Wall, but please turn into Banes. And the Blood Witches were sad that they did it anyway. And then I bring back like 3 Riders. They're like, what, 2 points each? 4 Bane Knights, 5 Bane Knights. That's another 5 points. So I'm already up to 10, plus like 6 Bane Thralls. So I bring back like 15 points of models super late into the game. He has a unit of Precursor Knights, his caster, and that's like it. So I actually have a full unit of Bane Riders, a full unit of Bane Knights, and more Bane Thralls than I started with on the table. And so he kind of looks at this and he checks to measure if Constance was engaged or if he has threat range to my caster right here. And he doesn't. He's out by about an inch. And he decides to concede. So, interesting game. Overall, there was a lot of things I learned. One of which being my deployment could be a lot better. So if you recall back in the beginning, my army kind of looked like this after first turn. That's because I had all my super slow guys over here, all my Banes, and my Bane Riders were out here than the Blood Witches, and they were all super slow. And so it was, I mean, I guess it kind of worked out this game, but my Bane Riders really didn't do too much. They killed like maybe 4 dudes. So super not so effective. My Blood Witches were like kings of the battlefield, or I'm sorry, they were like queens of the battlefield. This game, they like took out half the storm wall, all the Precursor Knights, not all of them. They did a lot of work. I don't want to exaggerate too much because I turned them into Banes at the end, so I kind of feel bad if I'll exaggerate. But what I'm thinking I could do next time maybe is kind of have my army be like this at the end of the first turn, where I have Riders up here, Blood Witches up here, and then Bane Thralls and Bane Knights kind of in the center. That way I have more of a concave going on, which for someone like Constance's feat, they're going to have to group up again, or else I'm just going to be too widely dispersed and I'm going to pick away at things on their flank. So I want to work on that. But overall, not too bad of a game. There's a whole bunch of little things I messed up, and my opponent was like, "Oh yeah, you can take those back." But it was more like my arc node engaged a pod and then tried to shoot because I thought it's just a stick in the mud. My arc node can shoot when it's next to a stick in the mud. Turns out it can't. It can only shoot next to like frozen models or like knockdown models. So whatever. Then also, what was the other thing? I sacrificed my arc node early, but that's okay. My opponent, however, he was thinking of a couple things that he could have done differently, and one of which was with the storm wall. Instead of moving the storm wall up way up here, Tartarus is right here. He could have kept the storm wall back, shot the poop out of Tartarus, and then put down a couple covering fires to prevent all the Banes from getting him. Then he would still have the storm wall, which would be huge. Also, what he could have done is back when he still had Sword Knights, instead of charging all the Sword Knights in to block my guys around here, is he could have kept them back a little bit more, then had the Storm Wall put down some covering fire out in front of them to prevent the Blood Witches from getting them. However, after I kind of think about it, the Blood Witches should just go and eat some Precursor Knights. So really that part I don't think would have mattered too much. I mean, he still would have had Sword Knights, which would have been awesome, but the Blood Witches could still have RFP'd some dudes. Also, my opponent thought that he could nab some more objective points because he thought he wasn't in base to base the entire time. However, it kind of turns out he was, and my Warwitch Siren yet again saved me. Those suckers win me so many games, it's not even funny. So, yeah, he still did good on scenario pressure. However, my caster is nowhere near my dominating flag. He was hanging out here the entire time. So I think it's just the way the terrain's set up where I had a nice wall that I could not be shot at to sit behind. But if it was maybe a different one, Shade probably should have been up here to kind of force the objective, which would have been, or the scenario, which would have been nice. So yeah, it was an interesting game. I hope you liked it, and have a great day.